Hello friends, welcome back to my channel and to another Plan With Me video. This week we are memory planning the week that was February 3rd through to February 9th, and we are using a kit from Caress Press, Shock Horror. We're not using Planner Face this week, which almost seems miraculous at this point. Also, I'm going to just preface this video by telling you that I'm not at my house today. I'm actually doing this voiceover at my mum's house. We are having some renovations done at home, which I don't want to talk about. So I'm currently sitting on my mum's couch, which is not as spacious as mine. My setup for my voiceover is not the same as like what it would be if I was at my own house. So if you hear like planner fumbling or weird background noises, I apologize, but that is why. With that said though, I want to keep getting this content out because we're almost in 2026 and I'm barely scratching the surface of 2025. Now, the reason that I'm using this Caress Press kit is because this week marked the 25th anniversary of Sims, and I am a huge Sims fan. I remember the first time I ever played The Sims, I think I was 14, maybe 15. My best friend at the time, she had it, and I remember I would go to her house and we would play. By we would play, I mean I would watch her play. And I remember I put in a request. I think I got Sims for Christmas. I don't remember. I could be wrong, but I put in a request for it. And ever since, I have been a Sims fan. I have played the original Sims, Sims 2, 3, 4. I think we had it on PlayStation at one point. But super Sims fan. I know there's a whole bunch of controversy around the Sims community at the moment. If you know, you know. But I just thought this kit was cute, wanted to use it, and I figured it was probably the most appropriate time to use this kit. I also paired it with a very old green sparkly SPC foil kit. Again, for anyone who knows The Sims, you will know that the signature plum bob, which is or can be seen in that top left hand corner, is a shade of green. So I just figured that pairing it with a green foil would work. I also like that the green adds a little bit of color to the kit, because I do find that the kit was very, I wouldn't say monochrome, but I just don't know about the color palette. So I like that the green kind of added a little bit of extra something. Or with that said, I think that is pretty much everything in terms of like the base and what I'm using. Caress Press kits do take me a little longer to play around with because I don't use them a lot. And then you'll also see at the moment I'm laying down like slivers of pre-cut washi, because again it is an old formatted foil bundle. I didn't have any green underlays, so I figured firstly it was good to be able to use them, but it did mean that this spread took a little bit longer because I had to obviously lay those little slivers down between each box. So that was fun. But all in all, I do love how the spread turned out. Our sidebar for this week, very, very standard. We have the 3 full boxes. I've put a little box in there for the highlight of the week, which I'm pretty sure was to mark that it was the 25th anniversary of Sims, because I put like a birthday cake there. And that is that. So we'll go ahead and jump into the plans for the week. So starting on Monday, the first thing that I marked was that I had a blood test. You guys know, if you've been around for a while, that then of course meant that I got myself a McDonald's on the way home. I then marked work for the day, and then after work I marked that I was watching Not Dead Yet. I've then marked in the evening that I picked up my husband from the station. We did a little grocery run. We had kebabs for dinner. I did my injections that night, and then that evening I marked that I was reading Never Never. On Tuesday I marked work, again consistently. For anyone who's been around a while, you know that I like to mark work like the same way throughout the week on my working days, so that's what I've done. I marked that it was a 33-degree day this day. Ugh, I say gross, but like as I'm sitting here doing this, I'm pretty sure it's like 33 degrees outside now in November. So We love that. We love the heat. We really don't. I actually hate the heat. Can't stand it. Anyway, I then marked that I worked on appeals all day at work, which were one of my least favorite things to do. No, not that I didn't like them. They were just very time consuming. It was nice to be able to do something different from time to time, but just very time consuming. I then marked that after work this day, I was doing a Married at First Sight catch up. I made some spaghetti for dinner. I read Never Never Again, and I marked injections. Then Wednesday, we had yet another blood test, which of course meant more McDonald's. I probably should specify, because when I say I get McDonald's, most of the time it's just a coffee. Like, depending on whether or not my husband comes with me, or we're running on time, or he's running late, or whatever it is for work. Sometimes we would go in and have breakfast. Other times I would get takeaway breakfast, and other times I would literally just get a coffee. So I feel like I probably should have specified that, because it just looks like I'm getting McDonald's all the time. Well, I am, but yeah. I then marked that I got a call from the clinic to continue on my medications that I had been having. I didn't have work this day, apparently, because there's no work script. So continue meds. I then marked that I watched a movie called Uglies, which was very interesting, very dystopian, futuristic. I think I watched it on Netflix. I don't know if it's still on there, but I didn't mind it. So if you're into that sort of stuff, check it out. I watched some more Not Dead Yet. I had to pick up my husband again. And then that night I marked that I watched both Married at First Sight and Big Miracles, which is a show based around people on their IVF journey. And I always found it really enjoyable to watch, especially being someone undergoing IVF. I don't know. It just feels like you can relate. And then, of course, I finished out Wednesday by marking my daily injections. On Thursday, I marked that I slept in. So again, I was off, obviously. I had an iced coffee. Don't know whether I bought it. Don't know whether I made it, but I had an iced coffee. I then marked that I played Original Sims because as part of their... I don't even know what the anniversary date was, to be honest. Maybe that's why I put it in the sidebar. I think it might have been the 5th, but could be wrong. But as part of their anniversary, they remastered the original Sims, and I think the Sims 2. So of course I had to buy those, and I marked that I actually played some of the very first original Sims, which is what made me fall in love with the franchise in the first place. And then marked that I watched Kinda Pregnant. I also watched Like a Boss, marked Injections again, and then we watched Beast Games when my husband got home. On Friday, we had another blood test, more McDonald's, but I put a pancake stack there, so I'm guessing that signifies that was the day that we actually had breakfast. We had a vet appointment this day. Again, I'm assuming that it was for the guinea pig. Yeah, no, I vaguely remember this. I think we had the guinea pig in the car in his little carrier, and I remember my husband was like, if your blood test takes too long, because sometimes I was really quick depending on who I got, sometimes it was really difficult, so he basically said, if you take too long, I'll go and sit in the car with the guinea pig. And then we had our breakfast, and then we went to the vet appointment. When we got home, I marked that I had a nap, I did my injections, and then I've left space for marking something that we watched. Didn't mark it in. You know what that means? Got to go back through my planner notes and figure out what I did that evening. On to the weekend, I've just realized that I didn't use a weekend banner yet again. Go me, on a roll. But on Saturday, the first thing that I marked at the top of the day was that I had a lazy morning. We then had, so we went into the local shops by the looks of it. We had Mad Mex for lunch. And then I marked that I took off my nail polish because I'm assuming I had an egg collection the following week. They basically tell you can't have any gel, no acrylic, no nail polish when you go in for a collection. So I had to take off my polish. I marked getting a coffee. When we got home, we watched some I'm a Celebrity. So I've marked that we did a catch up on that. And then that night I did my trigger shot, which consisted of an Ovidrel pen and 2 Decapeptyl pens. Basically, in layman's term, that means I had 3 different needles to trigger, which was to prepare me for my egg collection, which I'm going to assume was on Monday. Yes. And then that night we watched Avengers Endgame as our movie. And then lastly, on to Sunday. Again, I have marked sleeping in. I then had to call the lab about the following day. Don't know why. Why would I have called the lab? Maybe I didn't know what the plan was, because usually we do a freeze all. I don't know. But I called the lab, apparently. We watched some I'm a Celebrity. I marked watching some YouTube. And then marked that I chilled out with the boys, aka my 2 dogs, on the couch. We watched Married at First Sight. And then apparently this evening, I went to bed early. And yeah, having a look. So my egg collection was scheduled for 6:30 a.m. the following morning, which is a very early start for us because we live, depending on traffic, we live 45 minutes to an hour away from the clinic. So bad traffic can be obviously an hour or more, and you can't be late to the egg collection because there's a whole team waiting for you. There are other people that go after you. So if you're late, they're late. You also have to be, it's very time specific, because you're told a specific time that you have to inject your trigger shot, and then you're generally scheduled for collection exactly 36 hours after that for premium like egg collection. So you really don't want to be late. And obviously getting up so early, it meant that we had to leave our house at like 5:30. So that meant a wake up at like 5 a.m. So yeah, that is it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon for another one. Bye!